While you was dating Biggie, the whole East Coast, West Coast beef was going on, right?
Well, it came about while we were dating.
Right. How did Biggie feel about that?
I mean, he was kind of shocked because at some point him and Pac were friends, and he didn't really understand where all of the negativity was coming from. But I think at the time the media was playing a role, in my mind. This is just my opinion. I think the media was playing a role in, by Pac being as big of an artist as he was at the time, and Big being as big of an artist as he was at the time, and them being on different coasts. I think the media was playing into this whole East Coast, West Coast thing, and it kind of really just feuded it. It just made it worse because, like I said, at some point they were friends. There's footage of them rapping together and they were cool. So Big was kind of like a little stunned at, the whole situation. I understand that Pac thought that he was set up, when he was shot and all of that, but that was not Big. Like, Big didn't have anything to do with that. So he didn't really understand in his mind where Pac would even get that idea from. So it threw him off. It just, it just kind of baffled me.
Yeah, I think Tupac felt like Biggie knew who did it and he didn't tell him.
I don't even think at that point that he knew. And, for real, Pac is the East Coast dude. He's not from the West Coast initially. So if anybody knew who did it, Pac did, you know what I mean? But I don't know if, Pac was a lot more animated than Big. So I don't know if that was part of it where, he's just going to throw Big in the midst of it to make it more, intriguing or interesting or whatever. But I honestly, in my mind, even though I never personally met Pac, I don't really think that Pac really thought that Big set him up. I just don't.
Right. Biggie, did Biggie ever have any personal conversations with you about Tupac?
Yeah, he told me they were friends at some point, and that Pac was on before Big, so Pac had given him a lot of advice. Big had gone and stayed with Pac, at his house before, so they had a relationship. So when Pac started making diss records and coming at him crazy, it just threw him off. He was just like, I don't get this dude. Like, I don't understand what's even going on here. Somebody putting something in his ear or making him do this, or what the situation is. Like, I get it. Like, I know it got really crazy when that whole studio situation happened and Pac got shot, but Big did not have anything to do with that, and he really dumbfounded him that he even would think that Pac would think that.
Right.
So
you was with Biggie when he first hit him up, right?
I was, yes. It was somebody's video shoot. I don't remember whose. And Puff was there, and I just remember Puff coming out. I think we pulled up. Puff came out. He was like real somber looking, and he was like, "Yo, I gotta play this record." And that's the first time we heard "Hit 'Em Up," and it was the whole mood just changed. A video shoot supposed to be upbeat, happy, whatever, and Big is just like, are you serious right now? Like, seriously, this is what we doing? Like, the video wasn't out yet. There wasn't no video. It was just a record, and it's just like.
No, I know for a fact that Charli Baltimore definitely saw some stuff the world has never seen, and she's about to tell some of it, because she states that she was there when Biggie first heard "Hit 'Em Up," and Biggie believed that Tupac actually slept with Faith Evans. So I want you guys to watch the full interview, because as I said, this is Charli Baltimore. She was dating, or she was with Biggie for a period of time. So she has definitely saw some stuff that many persons do not see up to this date, even persons that claim they were close to Biggie. So once again, she's about to tell her story, and I would love if you guys watch the full video and listen thoroughly. Remember to drop a like, my people. Drop a like and subscribe, man, because this whole situation with Biggie, Tupac, and Faith Evans is still crazy to this date, and we still haven't really known any facts. So Listen, man, I'm gonna shut up and stop talking. Watch the interview.
You know, shock. And it was just crazy.
What was his reaction to some of the stuff Tupac was saying in there? Like he said he had relations with Faith Evans. He dissed Little Kim, Little C's.
I mean, Big, you know, obviously Big was hurt. Because, I mean, you have somebody that you are friends with and you really don't know where all this animosity is coming from. And then you got this dude just riding on you and you're not knowing, you know, what's what. And then there was this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Pac mistakenly thought that Who Shot Ya was directed at him when Who Shot Ya was actually written before Pac had even gotten shot.
So tell me about that, you know, Who Shot Ya and, you know, Tupac believing
Who Shot Ya is not about Pac. It was written before Pac got shot. So, you know, but of course, you know what I mean? People are going to hear that and say, okay, yeah, you know, now this Big is he's going at this now it's going to be, you know, back and forth, blah, blah, blah. But in all actuality, that record was already written. It just, when you listen to it, with all that was going on, it does sound like, you know, yeah, now I'm on your ass, you know, and it wasn't like that.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, we got to keep it a buck, though. I mean, you know, Tupac, he got shot at Quad Studios, and they released Who Shot Ya after he got shot.
Right.
I mean, the timing, you know, that
But
was...
Big
you know.
Big didn't have anything to do with when records got released. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's on a label. So, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know, if Puff made the decision to put that record out or whatever at the time, the timing was what it was. And Big, you know, Big had already written the record. The record had been, that wasn't something he's like, oh, this and got shot. You know what I'm saying? He's going at me now, you know, let me write this record, this crazy record. And Who Shot Ya is a hot ass record. So, you know, of course, everybody like that's not in the industry or in the know is going to eat that up. Like, yeah, okay, now he going at bull like it's about to be on, and it wasn't like that.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, I just think the timing of the
No,
release
of course, of course the timing was crazy, but he really did not write that record. It was not directed at Pac, and like I said, it was written before Pac was even shot. So.
Right. Did Biggie believe that Tupac had relations with Faith Evans? Do you think he believed it?
He believed it. In the beginning, he believed it. I don't know, you know, if as time went on, he believed it. But in the beginning, yeah, he believed it.
What was Biggie's reaction when Tupac passed away?
Oh, he actually was really upset that Pac, you know, passed away. I mean, it was a shock, but he was genuinely upset, just like you would lose a friend. Even though they was beefing and, you know, stuff had gotten really out of control as far as what people were saying and all that, he genuinely was hurt, you know, when Pac died. You know, I think it was a shock to everybody. But yeah, he you know, it wasn't like he was like, yes, you know, my nemesis is dead. It wasn't it wasn't anything like that at all. He was genuinely upset.
You said before that Biggie was listening to Tupac Machiavelli album after he died.
Yeah, Big definitely was listening to I think the Hail Mary record was his favorite record. I can't remember the whole like Machiavelli album, but he definitely was listening to the music. And you know, like I said, Big didn't take his personal feelings on a person out on their music. Like, good music is just good music to him. Like, he was a true, you know, fan of good music. And, you know, Pac definitely has some good music, so Big definitely was listening to it.
Brooklyn Finest. Biggie taking a shot at Tupac and Faith on that song.
That's just Big being Big. That's just Big being lyrical and Big being Big. Like, you know, people that don't know Big personally and know how his personality is, like, that's just really like, he wasn't even really taking a shot. He was just, his personality was like that. And it's hard for me to explain what his personality was like unless you actually knew him, but that's just some slick shit he would say. And, you know, at the end of the day, it was a hot line because it fucks people's ears up. You still got to remember, this is a that came out and said, look, black, ugly as ever. You know what I mean? That shit that nobody had ever heard before. Like, yo, did this just say he was black, ugly as ever? But however, I stay Coochie down to the socks. You know that you know, those type of lyrics weren't happening around that time. People weren't rapping like that. So the type of shit, like the type of wit that Big had and just his personality in general, like people weren't used to that. So, you know, that reference, I see what you're saying, you know, people think it's a shot, but really it's just Big's personality. Like Big was a silly dude. Like he was just a witty, silly dude.
Long Kiss Goodnight. What's that about Tupac?
Long Kiss Goodnight?
Yeah.
The RZA record?
Yeah.
No, actually, Long Kiss Goodnight was a record that he did as kind of like a homage for me, because
If I was in Biggie's shoes, I probably would have believed Tupac slept with my girl, man. Like, I'm not saying that, you know, Fate was known to be that type of girl, because probably if, as I said, if I was in his shoes and I know Fate to be loyal and all of that, but if Tupac said something like that, man, I probably would have believed same way, man. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it would be a situation where I'm tripping or if Biggie was tripping, because I don't know, man. Because remember, Gene Deal said that he witnessed Biggie, you know, taking out some frustration on Fate events, and he believed that it was because of the Tupac record hit him up, you know, because, you know, that's very, very, very personal, man, because it's not like it's any girl, it's Fate Evans, you know, the girl he was with and all of that. So Tupac definitely went hard in that diss track, and the whole place was rocking it, man. So as I said, man, I think Biggie believed it the whole time, matter of fact. I don't think it was just the beginning. I think Biggie believed it the whole time. Maybe I'm tripping, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on perspective. But as you know, Baltimore said that, you know, Biggie's personality overall was silly, and I know that. That is once again why I believe that he had nothing to do with Pac studio situation. Up to this date, I do not believe it. Do I believe Long Kiss Goodnight was a diss towards Tupac? Yes. Do I believe Who Shot You was a diss toward Tupac? I believe that was actually Diddy's doing, you know, releasing it that time in that way. I believe it was actually Diddy's doing rather than Biggie's doing. Because a lot of people think, you know, it was Biggie directly dissing Tupac. But as I said, I strongly believe that it was just a technique of Diddy to basically, you know, poke or provoke Tupac. And that still made Tupac even believe more that Biggie had something to do with the situation. That's why I can't blame Tupac for thinking that. Especially when the situation happened, just the timing of that record being released. Like, come on, we're all humans. Unless we have some direct information to say otherwise, then we are going to assume that Biggie, in that shoes, we are going to assume that Biggie, you know, did set up or know of the setup that happened to Tupac. But as I said, I personally do not believe Biggie knew of it. I personally do not believe. He may have known them, but I don't believe he knew it was going to happen or knew about it overall. You know, that's really how I feel about it. I believe when he went on the radio station, it was a diss toward Tupac, though. I definitely believe that. And I don't believe I don't believe Biggie, you know, wanted to diss, or when Who Shot You was like a diss towards Tupac. I believe that was more on Diddy's side. So that's really my perspective on everything so far. Let me know your thoughts on perspective. Remember to drop a like, my people, drop a like and subscribe.
And he hit me. I remember he called me one day and played me the beat and was like, guess whose beat that is? And I was like, who? And he was like, RZA. And then you have to also remember that my name came from that movie, The Long Kiss Goodnight. So it kind of was just kind of something for me. But, you know, I mean, people take stuff out of Big's rhymes and apply it to all kinds of stuff and say, oh, he dissed this person, that person, da, 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 da. I'm not saying Big didn't do that. At that point, when he wrote that record, I'm pretty sure Pac was already deceased. And
exactly. It was like a song he made when Tupac died, and he was taking shots at him.
Nah. Big, first of all, Big wouldn't do that. That's just not like his personality. He's not going to take shots at the dead man. He probably had little stuff in there where people could take it and say whatever. And I'm keeping it a buck. I see your face like, yeah, all right. But I'm not going to lie. Like, that's just, he wouldn't do that. Yeah, of course, you know, there's little stuff in there. I know what you talk about. That stuff when you said something. I ain't mad at you. I know what you're saying. But nah, it wasn't a diss record. You know what I mean? Like, you don't make a diss record after somebody that passed away. That's kind of whack. You know what I mean? Like, that's not cool. So really, like, for real, like, that record was kind of like for me, because he knew how much I loved the Wu, and he knew how much I wanted him to like work with them more. And when I remember him calling me and playing me that beat, I was like, yes. So nah, that's not a Tupac diss record. Then you're actually the first person that's ever asked me that, or that's actually the first time I've ever heard that.
And I seen an interview from Little C's, and he said when Biggie died, you was his girl. Mm-hmm. How you feel about him saying that?
It was true. So, I mean, C's is just telling the truth. I mean, you know, I was Big's girl. You know, that was kind of like an established thing with us. So, you know, it was what it was. Like, we had at that point been together for almost 2 years.
You and Biggie, y'all dated for like 2 years. So where was Faith Evans in the picture while y'all was dating for 2 years?
Big and Faith were separated when we met. And, you know, this is what, you know, he was telling me. So as far as I knew, they weren't together at all in any sense. But I know that, you know, Big being the guy that he was and being a young guy, you know, obviously he still had feelings for her. He married her. But then he also wound up having a baby with her while, you know, we were together, which was crazy because at that point, we had been together for a while. And, you know, I didn't know he was going back and forth, you know, but I don't know. I mean, Big was a young guy. We all were real young at that time. And, you know, that's how I look at it. You know what I mean? If you were to do that now as like an older adult, it'd be a totally different situation. But, you know, obviously he had to sit me down and tell me, you know, listen, Faith is pregnant.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is yours truly and exclusive. Remember to drop a like and subscribe. Drop a like, drop a like, drop a like, and subscribe. Goodbye.
So, you know,
how did that go when he told you that?
That did not go well. That did not go well with me at all. But at that point, I had been with him for a while. You know, we broke up a few times. I'm pretty sure we probably broke up around that time too for a while, but they were still separated. So, you know, he was just like, I'm going to take care of my responsibility and, you know, take care of my baby.
You dated Biggie for 2 years. So with that being said, why wasn't you in the Notorious movie?
You asking me? I have no idea. Like, I don't know the powers that be that did that movie. Like, I really never did the research to find out, you know, who were the people that actually put that whole movie together. You know, I've seen bits and pieces of it. You know, I've been told I'm, you know, not in the movie or whatever. But in my mind, I'm like, you know, if you're going to make a movie about somebody like Big, whose legacy to me should really be about his music, not his personal life, you know, I can take it and say, okay, cool. But because they focused on his personal life and it's not accurate, you know, I'm not, you know, bothered by it. It doesn't bother me. Like, it never really bothered me what people thought about me and Big's relationship because I knew what it was. So, you know, a lot of times people are like, oh, you know, you should write a book, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, that's just not my personality. Like, I don't need to validate what Big and I had to everyone else because he and I knew what we had, and the people that were closest to him knew what he and I had. And also, I also feel like, you know, Big had the two dudes that Big was around the most every day were D-Rock and C's. If anybody is going to do a movie about Big, it should be one or both of them, because they knew Big in and out, every aspect of his life. They lived with Big, so they were with him every day. So, you know, to bring in somebody, an outsider, who is just taking bits and pieces of his life and saying, okay, we're going to, you know, say this happened or say that happened or whatever, and, you know, add the cap up for the movie or whatever, that's just, it's not accurate. So, you know, in my mind, it just, I don't think, and I've never seen the whole movie, you know, straight through, I just don't think that's an accurate portrayal of Big's life if you're going to make a movie about his personal situation. In my mind, you know, make the movie about his music, his legacy, the fact that people still listen to Big, you know, 20 years later. You know, obviously, yeah, I'm sure his personal life was intriguing. He was a young guy, you know, the hottest rapper out, and he had a lot going on. But at the end of the day, like, I don't really take it personally, because I know, like I said, I know what it was, and the people closest to him know what it was. So I don't, you know, to really look at that or take it any kind of way.
Well, there you guys have it. You know, Charli Baltimore laying out everything, you know, from the moment where she strongly believed that Biggie, matter of fact, knew that Biggie did not have nothing to do with Tupac incident at the studio, to believing that Biggie, or knowing that Biggie believed that Tupac slept with Faith Evans, to the point where, you know, they had a breakup over the fact that Biggie went ahead and got a baby with Faith, even though him and Charli were together, you know, to the point where Biggie wrote a song for her, where a lot of people believe it was a diss towards Tupac, including myself. And real quick, I want to say, I know what she's saying. I hear what she's saying, man, but sometimes I do believe that was towards Tupac, but I don't know, man. Let me know your thoughts and perspective on that one, man. But as she said, you know, the song was for her. Yes, Biggie threw in bits and pieces, and it was even written before Tupac's passing. Very interesting detail, right? To the point where she makes it clear that even the movie and all of that, persons who were doing it, they weren't the close persons. They really was probably in the circle. They were really just some outsiders. And a lot of times that's how it is. It's sad, but a lot of times that's how it is, right? And she makes it clear she feels no way not being included, because she knows what she and Biggie has, and the closest people to the season, D-Rock, can testify, right? So that was just a quick sum up to everything, I guess. But what I really have to say is that, you know, Charli definitely seems like she's telling the truth, man. Like, I don't see what she would benefit by lying. You know, she definitely seems like she was telling the truth. Only thing I'm not quite sure about, you know, is the fact that, you know, she said, you know, Biggie wrote that song for her, man. Because in my head, sometimes I strongly believe that it's for Tupac, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie, man, but I definitely could be wrong. Don't get me wrong, right? I definitely can be wrong, but that's the only part that I don't really like sit right with. But overall, you know, she seems like she's telling the truth. As I said, I don't see what she would gain by telling a lie and all of that, right? So I want you guys to let me know your thoughts and perspective on it. Let me know what you guys believe, man. Because as I said before, you know, despite everything, I believe that deep down in Tupac's and Biggie's heart, they had love for each other, man. It's sad how it went. It's really, really sad how it went, man. They should have fixed shit, man. But, you know, ever since the studio session and then Who Shot You get released, you know, Diddy to me was to blame more for that. But ever since that, man, things just got worse and just started to escalate over and over and over again. And, you know, situation got so bad where it seems like there could be no fixing. You know, Tupac went ahead and released Hit 'Em Up. That was another big escalation. Like, come on, man. Like, y'all know what I mean, man. Like, was going down a road where it would seems like there would be no fixing. And sadly, they did not even get the chance to talk about that. You know, both of them passed relatively same time. Sad, man. Really, really sad. But I want you guys to let me know your thoughts and perspective on it. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys believe. Remember to drop a like and subscribe for some love. Drop a like and subscribe for some love. It is a boy Premium Celeb. And as usual, your boy is out.